Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it the second chance might just change your mind.
Here we take that chance for you, and let you know if a show deserves more than one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this time will be the Golden Palace. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've been as excited to watch a show for this podcast in quite some time.
I'm not gonna lie to you, the title of The Golden Palace could be anything.
It really could, yeah.
That could be a game show, it could be like a Librarians or Indiana Jones type of thing.
It could be an anime.
It could be an anime. It could be a show on the History Channel about unearthing the Golden Palace.
Or it could be a spin-off / sequel series to The Golden Girls.
That seems highly unlikely. The Golden Girls is so successful and popular that if it had a spin-off...
I feel like I would know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Guess what? I didn't know about it. Because that's exactly what the Golden Palace is. It is Blanche, Sophia, and Rose from the Golden Girls buying a hotel together and running it. Which is crazy.
So they say it's them buying it together, but it was Blanche's house.
Yes.
So she's the one putting the money up for the hotel.
Yeah.
So really, isn't it just Blanche's hotel?
So I have watched all of Golden Girls multiple times, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember all of it. It's 7 fucking seasons, and I can't remember if they all are like on the
it's not a
documents
lease
for the house, because I know they did help save her house from having to be sold. I don't know if she wrote them on as additional partial owners or not. I honestly don't remember, or if she was just charging them rent.
Either way, it's wild.
Yeah.
But, like you said, so it stars Sophia, Blanche, and Rose from the Golden Girls.
Yes.
What happened to...
Dorothy? Dorothy got married at the end, and she went to go live in Atlanta. She left Florida, which honestly, more people should do.
I forgot that Golden Girls was set in Florida.
Yeah, it is.
I know Golden Palace was set in Florida.
Yeah, so is Golden Girls.
Wild.
I mean, it's about a bunch of people in their 60s or past all living together. Where else to set it but Florida? Florida was for old people / retirees, even in the 80s.
Those were the same words.
Yeah, I was wording it not so blatantly, I guess, ageist / mean. Depends on if you get hurt by being called old, I guess.
Well, anyways, let's get into the show. Golden Palace is a 1992 American sitcom from NBC.
I thought it was from CBS.
You're right. Golden Girls was on NBC.
Yeah, and
Golden Palace is CBS.
Yeah, because it was on the CBS Friday night slot, where apparently it just died. Where a lot of the CBS shows just died.
It did only get one season.
Yeah.
It aired in 19...
It's more than the Jefferson spin-off hotel show.
Is it?
Yeah, Checking In got 3 episodes. And then the hotel burnt down, and the main cast member of Checking In went back to the Jeffersons.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
Was that the intended story arc?
Nope. It was meant to be an entire spinoff. It just did so poorly that they canceled it after 3 episodes. That person went back to being part of the Jeffersons cast, and the entire explanation was that the hotel burnt down.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Golden Palace is from 1992, which is the year after the Golden Girls ended.
Yes, because the Golden Girls ended after 7 seasons, and it was not canceled. It came to an end because B. Arthur wanted to do more than just sitcoms.
Yeah,
or at least that's what her statement was to the public when she decided to do it no more.
She was like, peace out, guys, I'm done. And she just left.
Yeah, which is 2 more seasons than she was originally going to do, from my understanding. She was apparently going to leave after season 5, from what I know, but decided to do more because they talked her into it.
Honestly, my favorite part about it is they had the respect to the original 7 seasons to name the spin-off a different show.
Yeah.
Unlike some sitcoms created by some people, like Bill Lawrence.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're supposed to be getting a revival of Scrubs at some point. Bill Lawrence, Zach Braff, Donald Faison are all on board.
Why would we want a revival of it? That show ended horribly.
I don't know what you're talking about. Season 8 was fantastic. It was a great ending to the series.
I don't know, man. Season 9 was kind of bad.
You mean Scrubs Medical School, the spinoff?
I don't know what you're talking about. There's no spinoff. There's just Scrubs and more Scrubs.
Do you know why Scrubs Medical School is so very different than Scrubs is?
Because it was meant to be a different show?
Well, that, and also the Sacred Heart Hospital set doesn't exist anymore.
Parts of it do. Parts of it do.
Not really.
Parts of it do. They were purchased by another studio, and they were used in an Adult Swim hospital comedy show because they had the nurses' station there. It was Children's Hospital on Adult Swim. They literally had part of it set. It's one of the few remaining pieces.
No, they may have like the desks or something, but that set was actually in a building that has been destroyed.
They had a nurses' station set. That was that. It's like one of the few sets that existed.
But like,
at least as far as I'm aware, because I remember seeing a huge thing about it once.
JD's apartment.
Yeah. No, they don't like
are
most
just
of the
rooms
sets.
in this abandoned hospital that when the hospital was destroyed, they lost all of their sets.
I mean, sucks, but it's not like it would have changed much after the show ended. They would have lost most of the sets anyways. It's kind of what shows do. They burn sets.
Anyways, unlike Scrubs, Golden Girls actually properly showed respect to its originator and spun it off with a new title and a new premise. The Golden Palace.
Yes.
Which also happens to be the title of the first episode, unless you're watching it on like Disney Plus maybe, where it's called Pilot.
Which, I mean, I'm going to trust the Disney Plus version where it calls it Pilot, because it was apparently produced, or at least somehow affiliated with Touchstone Pictures, a subsidiary of Disney.
On the flip side of that, Wikipedia is pretty much the whole of human knowledge, and Wikipedia says it's called the Golden Palace.
I mean, I don't know. The rights holder's not calling it that.
Just because the right holder said something doesn't mean it's true.
Try telling that to, like, D&D players.
I thought you were going to say Star Wars fans.
That too! Except, I mean, Star Wars fans aren't really accepting what the rights holders are saying right now.
Anyways, the show starts with the iconic theme song, Thank You for Being a Friend.
Kind of. It's the same song, but performed by a different group or person, and it's slightly different. But it is all still the same lyrics, basically the same rhythm.
Basically, it's the whole conceit of the show. It's the same.
But different.
The show starts with the girls, minus Dorothy, who doesn't exist anymore.
She still exists, she just lives in Atlanta now.
Minus Dorothy, who doesn't exist anymore, in the old house that you'll recognize from Golden Girls.
Yes.
And it's pretty much empty. And honestly, I think they used a real house for this set.
I honestly don't know.
Like,
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it was the 80s and 90s where, like, more real places were used as sets for that time, and, like, as far as I can, like, think of.
As far as I know, it wasn't filmed in front of a live studio audience either, so, like...
I don't believe so.
Feels like maybe it was a real house. Like, when they took everything out of it, I was like, oh, real house.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, with all this stuff moved out of it, it does have more depth than I ever remember it having in Golden Girls. Like, parts of it in Golden Girls always felt like that was just kind of a piece of background scenery that was just there that no one ever interacted with. But, like, people kind of moved through more of the space than I thought actually existed in real physical.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
But they're all, like, talking about leaving this house.
Yeah.
Rose is the one that ends up being like, I can't go, I can't. We just can't leave this house. And Blanche is like, oh, girls, we're going to own a hotel, and we're going to run a business. Business.
Which is kind of funny, given the fact that this is Blanche's house, as we mentioned. Literally the entire, like, beginning of the series of Golden Girls is like, hey, my husband's dead, and I'm not going to be able to keep my house. I need roommates.
To be fair, that happens a year before the show starts, but...
Yes, but that is, like, the conceit of how the show starts. And Blanche doesn't want to leave her house, because it's where her husband and her lived, where she has all these memories, where her kids, like, grew up and stuff. And now, 7 years later, she's selling it. And which, fair, it's a good time period.
And obviously, the show, like Golden Girls, is just filled with zingers and jokes, like, pretty much nonstop.
It's so fucking good.
And the humor is very good. We're not going to hit on all of the jokes. A, because noting down all those jokes would have taken forever. And B, because that gives you less reason to go watch it.
Also, no one can deliver a fucking witty, sarcastic barb like Sophia can. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think. You can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, we're not going to attempt to do that. We're just going to tell you that there was jokes, and they were funny.
Yes. We might say one or two that we remember that we quite enjoyed. So Rose is freaking out, and she's having a hard time breathing.
So they all three sit down on the couch to, like, talk about it.
And Rose is breathing into a paper bag to not hyperventilate. And by the time they calm her down, well, by the time Blanche calms her down, because Sophia's just kind of finding it amusing, of course, Rose is like, I really don't think I can leave. And Blanche is like, no, I guarantee you can. And then 4 of the moving men pick up the couch and carry them off the set, to which we will assumedly never return. Or at least we don't in this or the second episode.
I imagine the only time we'll see this house again is in flashbacks, if they do flashbacks.
I don't think we'll ever do flashbacks. I don't think Golden Girls has ever had flashbacks that I can recall. Like,
definitely has had flashbacks.
I'm talking like real flashbacks. Like,
no,
not just like
I don't know what you're talking
earlier
about.
on this set.
I don't know what you're talking about. Golden Girls, the entire show's premise is set up like Green Arrow, where every year is matched with a year of Oliver Queen's exile.
Yeah, except we're obviously following Rose and Island's exile in St. Olaf.
It's actually, we follow all three of them. We get Rose's story in St. Olaf, we get Blanche's story with her husband who's passed away, and we get Dorothy's story with her ex-husband Stan. We get all three of these stories as flashbacks.
And of course we get Sophia in Sicily.
Yeah.
That is, honestly, you would think Sophia in Sicily with all the, like, mob, like, things she insinuates would be the darkest of them. No, it's Rose's flashbacks. Those things get terrifying.
I've been watching too much Arrowverse. It's infected my brain.
Yeah, you have.
Hey, you know what's interesting? I was going to pitch for this episode, instead of watching, like, Golden Palace, which we stumbled on by accident, that we review the next show that we get in the Arrowverse. We've already done that. Yeah,
we've already watched the first two episodes of Black Lightning and told you about them.
We're getting there, people.
Though, technically, the next one would be Freedom Fighters Ray.
Freedom Fighters The Ray.
The Ray, sorry.
And that's another one of those animated spin-offs that's 12 episodes that you're supposed to watch as 2 separate seasons.
Yep.
But yeah, so they leave the house, and we then cut to the hotel that they have purchased.
Which looks like the most 80s reinterpretation of 60s diner design aesthetic, specifically for counters that have then been stacked upon each other to make a 3-story tall building.
Such a weird way to describe it.
Am I wrong?
Not specifically, no.
It looks like 3 very large 60s-esque styled counters.
I don't know, I just thought
like a diner, and then stacked on top of one another.
I just thought it looked like an old hotel.
I mean, fair. But I'm allowed to paint a picture. A very, very weird picture.
So, inside the hotel, which is called the Golden Palace, that's the name of the hotel.
Yes.
Which is both a, like, surprisingly on-the-nose name for the hotel/show, because it's a spin-off of the Golden Girls, but it's also, like, it works, right? Golden Palace sounds like a hotel. Like a hotel.
Are you telling me that the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, the hotel is not called the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody Hotel?
It could have just been called the Sweet Life.
Honestly.
Which is a terrible name for a hotel, because not everybody gets a suite.
Unless you are building a hotel where every room is meant to be a suite, then you do it.
Huh.
And honestly, let's face it, the hotel room that Zack and Cody have, it's a 2-bedroom built-in kitchenette living area, and it's not high up, from my understanding, the way the show presents it. It's kind of the normal room.
I think it's like on the 12th floor. It's pretty high up.
Yeah, but it's also still kind of built as like a normal room. When we see other rooms, they are very similar, except for a few outliers here and there, like the Halloween episode where it's just one weird room.
Fair enough. So the desk of the hotel is manned by a man named Roland, who, if you're an astute observer, you might recognize as War Machine.
Also known as Don Cheadle.
The second War Machine, not the first War Machine. My bad.
Yeah. The one people remember, and the one who wasn't upset about the idea of being inside superhero movies.
The one who hasn't gone on to, like, become a conspiracy theorist on the internet.
Wait, what?
Oh, you don't know?
No, I don't.
I'll have to show you some of that later.
Okay.
Kyle Hill's done some very good videos about him, because the guy went and did 2 massive, like, 4-hour-long interviews on the Joe Rogan show where he tried to explain that 1 + 1 is not 2.
It's not.
Or 2 × 2 is not 4, or something. I don't remember. Like, he was trying to, like, defy basic math, and it wasn't because he was counting in a non-base 10 system.
Oh, he's wrong.
He now claims that he wasn't saying 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. He was saying that we need to look at things we know, like 1 + 1 = 2, and question why those things are true.
We have questioned why 1 + 1 = 2. Like the entire field of mathematics. The vast field of mathematics is all literally about proving things. It is all based on proofs.
He also does a lot of talking about harmonic resonance.
Oh God, no.
Mm-hmm. It's really good stuff.
Okay. So I already liked Don Cheadle more as War Machine. I like him even more as War Machine. But you know what else I like him as? I like him as Roland, our front desk manager / receptionist.
When we first are introduced to Roland, there's a young boy at the counter going, Roland. And the young boy is Oliver, who is Roland's foster son.
Yes.
And once Roland actually turns to him and gives him his attention, they have a conversation about the new hotel owners and what if they kick Oliver out, which they can't kick Oliver out without kicking Roland out, like, legally speaking.
Yeah. And Roland's like, and that's what I'm honestly more worried about, obviously, because apparently they're pretty successful in the hotel business. They own multiple chains. So, it's pretty likely that they're going to come in, kick me out, and put in people of their own. And he's like, so I really got to focus, make sure this entire thing goes well, because we got 20+ travel agents coming in that we really need to impress.
So, I've worked for 3 different companies while they were going through a regime change. 2 of the regime changes were within the company itself. They were like the local boss. Those regime changes, one of them did come with a whole, like, sweep out all the old people in management positions and put in a bunch of new people in management positions.
Delightful.
Which was terrible, honestly.
Yeah.
Got rid of the best supervisor I ever had because he wasn't technically qualified. And
because he worked his way up through the company, like companies love to tell you they let you do. Mm-hmm. But because he wasn't qualified on a schooling basis, they were like, nope, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another place I worked that had a regime change went easy easy peasy. Nothing really changed. Everybody just went about their days. And then the third place that I worked at during a regime change, I quit working there just as the regime change happened, and then 3 months later, they closed that place down.
Yeah.
So
that's the girl I was hearing horror stories about.
He has really, really valid worries that this regime change in ownership is going to make him lose his job.
Yes. So while he's stressing about that after Oliver runs off, in walk the Golden Girl.
And he mistakes them as guests initially, and he's like,
yep.
They're like, we're here, ding, ding, ding. And he's like, good for you, I can give you one night. That's all we have room for. We have a conference coming in tomorrow.
Yeah, and they're like, don't you know who we are? He's like, the Pointer Sisters? I don't know. And he's being rather rude to them, which fair. He's fairly stressed, and also, if you're not clear about it, they do just come off as extremely egotistical, especially because Blanche is acting as their face.
Well, also, and I think it's more so like a thing today than it was in the 80s, probably. Yeah. Well, in the 90s. You don't just walk into hotels, really, and go, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, you book your stay, and then you show up, and like, there's a much more like formality to it. Although you do just walk into hotels sometimes and go, hey, I need a room.
Yeah.
But like, you don't go, hey, look at me, I'm here.
Yes, exactly. So they just tell him that they're the new owners. He's like, huh, yeah, sure. Because, he'd been told by the previous owners these were hotel magnates that had been in the business. They know what they're doing. Not 3 women who don't seem to be involved at all. Like, they come in almost like they're guests, really.
Yeah. Well, they have suitcases and stuff with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, fair mistake on his part. But then, when he's like, oh, okay, and Blanche is like, can I see the manager? He's like, you're talking to him? She's like, no, your supervisor. He goes, uh-huh.
She's like, the person who runs the hotel. He's like, yep, that's me. And then he gets a phone call from one of the rooms, and they're running towels or something.
He's like, I sent somebody up
like
10 minutes ago. It should be a handsome black fellow.
A handsome young black man?
Just give him 30 more seconds.
Yeah.
And he hangs up the phone and grabs a whole bunch of towels out. And he's like, I'll be right back. And runs to go deliver towels.
Tears off up the stairs. Yep.
Because not only is he like the only person working the desk, he's also one of the only people like doing housekeeping.
Because we will learn in just a moment, after Blanche separates people up, that there's no one working in this hotel, basically. So after he tears off, Blanche...
The full staff for this hotel before the Golden Girls show up is Don Cheadle, Cheadle's foster son, a part-time maid, who we have not seen yet, and a chef.
Yes.
That's the entire... Although it isn't that large of a hotel, it's only 42 rooms, which is large-ish, but not like...
You could technically probably do it with 3 people like that. It would be fucking horrible, but you probably could if you were slow, like a very slow business, which assumedly they are, if they only have 3 people.
Well, they didn't always have 3 people. We'll get into that. But Blanche sends Sophia to check out the kitchen and meet the kitchen staff, and then she sends Rose, the... Housekeepers, that's what they are. And
she stays up front at the desk.
This is where Oliver meets Blanche, and again, Oliver is Don Cheadle's foster son.
Yes.
And he gives a very,
woe is me.
Dickensian.
Yeah, Dickensian woe is me speech about why he needs to stay.
Madam, please. If I don't have this job, I don't have a place to live. And I do good work. I go to school.
I can do both. It's fine. Trust me, I'm a hard worker, ma'am. And she's like, what about your mom? And he's like,
Mom's a drunk and she left me.
What about your dad? He's in prison for manslaughter.
It's just me all on my own, so please don't kick me out.
She's like, no, I can't keep you working here.
I feel like this is illegal. I can't,
And then he appeals to Blanche's nature by being like, I thought a woman as young as you would be able to relate to my problems. So she hesitates, and is like, well...
And then the phone rings, and Oliver's like, look, I can answer it. See, I can be helpful. And he grabs the phone and goes, it's an old lady. She says she needs you in the kitchen.
Yes.
And as he's saying that, Rose is coming back from housekeeping, and she's like, there's no housekeepers here.
Yes.
It's just us. So then...
Blanche walks back into the kitchen.
With Rose.
Yes. And Sophia is looking very displeased, as is the chef. The chef, who is none other than Cheech.
Cheech Marin. It is Cheech of Cheech and Chong fame. He is our chef.
And the moment Blanche and Rose walk in the back, he's just like, get out of my kitchen. Why are all of these people in my kitchen? And Blanche is like, it's not your kitchen. It's my kitchen. I own this. And they're like, we own this.
And then Sophia's like, it's my kitchen.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's my kitchen. And we serve Italian food here.
And he's like, no, I am everything you've heard about Mexican chefs. I am that. Get out.
And he's like, we fix Mexican food here.
Yeah.
I should stop doing voices.
Why does Cheech Marin have a fucking New York accent? Well, that's supposed to be a New York accent?
It was like the closest to a Brooklyn accent I would...
I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be a Boston accent or a New York accent.
Yeah, fair enough. He's like, we serve Mexican food here. And she goes, no, it's Italian. He goes, the only way we serve a pizza in here is if...
You put beans and jalapenos on top and call it nachos.
Such a good joke.
Yeah.
They get into an argument, and he's like, fine then.
I quit.
And he just walks off.
Yep. And as he's walking off, Sophia's like, well, we don't have to do it exactly Italian, but he's already got.
Yeah.
And Blanche is like, what's going on here? And then this is where Rose informs her about the part-time housekeeper, because she didn't get a chance to before. She just got dragged into the back with Blanche.
Yep. So we then cut to Blanche in what is the front office, essentially.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And it's her and Roland, and she's on the phone with her lawyer. And the lawyer is like, Mom, I don't know what to tell you. Laws work differently down here. And by down here, he means, I don't know what island he says. He's from
up north, because it's different than Haitian law.
Yeah.
Her lawyer is from Haiti. This is canonical and has been true since Golden Girls. She also says his name that has been used before, but I don't remember what it is.
Fantastic. He's like, laws work differently where I'm from. But it turns out, and Don Cheadle helps fill this in for us, Roland helps fill this in for us, that the previous owners basically cooked their books so it looked like they were a better purchase on paper than they actually were.
They fixed up the hotel a bit, fired a bunch of staff so it looked like they had more profits than they did.
Yeah.
And now, if basically these 20 travel agents aren't pleased, don't recommend the place, and leave before the end of their stay, the girls won't make enough money to pay off the banknote that they owe.
Which is due in 1 week. Ba-dum-bum.
So if they fail, they lose the hotel, and thus have no home.
They have no home. Poor little Dickensian Oliver has no home. Do you think his name is Oliver because of that?
Honestly, I didn't think about it beforehand, but entirely possible. I mean, in the 2 episodes that we have, he does do the whole woe is me Dickensian child thing a few times. Mainly as a joke, but
Please, sir, can I have another?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and at this point, I had assumed Cheech also would be out of a home. We learn later in this episode he does not live in the hotel like the other two.
No. He does live in the hotel.
No.
When they rehire him, he does.
Yes, but not at first.
No, at first he just lives in his car.
Yep.
Which is apparently fine for, living.
Just not very entertaining.
Which...
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, entertaining.
I mean, not even that.
Yeah.
It's hard to have guests over to play a board game when you're living in a car.
Fair, but that is not the way he said it.
That's the way I interpreted it. I was like, man,
fair enough.
You can't play board games in a car. You have to, have, a van with a shag rug and a table.
Or an enclosed parking space, and then you can use the hood.
Fair enough. So after this phone call with the lawyer, we're out in the lobby, and a man is arguing with Roland.
Yes.
And it's obvious that the man's arguing because he hasn't been paid. But Blanche comes out, and, she's like, oh, okay, how can I help you? Turns out he's the pool boy, pool man. His name is Brad.
Well, she's not like, how can I help you? She's like, oh, very attractive man. Allow me to hit on him seeing what's going on.
I was gonna get there. She's like, how can I help you? But she's like, how can I help you into my pants?
Yes, basically.
I knew she was hitting on him. I'm not that obtuse.
And it turns out he's the pool boy, and he just has not been paid in a while.
The best part is she's like, so, we would love to pay you, but the money in the escrow account hasn't moved to the non-escrow account, and it's a Swiss bank, but you're a pool boy.
I assume you know quite a bit about international banking. And he's like, yeah, a little bit.
And she's like, you could just give us another month. And he's like, I guess a month wouldn't hurt, which is insane. This man's a pool guy. I guess this isn't his only job because
I would assume he's operating a running business going to different pools. So,
yeah. Okay, maybe not as insane.
And if he's contracted out to a hotel, even if the hotel is not doing super great, it still looks fine.
And it's consistent business.
Yeah, so I would assume
start paying again.
I would assume he does fairly well if he's pulling in hotel contracts.
Yeah.
But he agrees to not charge them for a bit, and Sophia, Rose, and Blanche all meet up in the kitchen.
No, we can't cut Sophia out of this scene though.
I
was going to, but then you mentioned her.
Yes.
So the scene.
Well, because I was going to mention something because it's actually right before this scene.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
When they're in the kitchen, Sophia, Blanche, and Rose, after learning about the travel agent things, knowing they have a way to do it, because after Blanche learns, she has to go tell Sophia and Rose, who are both extremely pissed at her because they're like, "You talked us into this, and now we're fucked. You have
homeless.
fucked us. You've ruined us." And she's like, "No, we're all in this together." And she's like, "No, you've ruined us."
I wish Dorothy was here. She couldn't do anything to help us.
Rose is like, "I wish Dorothy was here." But she's like, "Rose, Dorothy wouldn't be able to do anything to help in the situation." And Rose is just like, "She'd be able to beat you up."
And then after Blanche leaves the room, Rose turns to Sophia and goes, I don't think we need Dorothy.
No, the best part is, it's not there that it happens. So, that does get stated again, but Blanche tries to give an invigorating, inspiring speech, and when she finishes it, Rose goes, "You know what? I think we can do it. We don't need Dorothy to beat you up."
So then, Blanche goes back out into the main room, the lobby of the hotel, meets the pool man, Brad, and as she's engaging with the pool man, Brad, and hitting on him, Sophia goes by and goes, ho, and then goes by again and goes, ho, and then a third time goes by and goes, slut.
Yeah. Yeah. So then come the business time period of having told all these agents. Sophia and Rose are in the kitchen prepping stuff, and then Sophia's just running the kitchen by herself through a dinner service, and Rose is running food, it seems.
Yeah, and Rose comes back with a plate, and she goes, that same travel agent who didn't like the salad also sent back his lamb steak.
His lamb chop.
Lamb chop, yeah.
And Sophia's like, she insults him, and she's like, well, let's see how he likes this one. Picks up the lamb chop, flips it over, and then rotates it 90 degrees and sends it back out. And honestly, yeah, that's how restaurants work.
He's speaking from experience, people.
Yeah, but no, having worked in restaurants, sometimes you just do that because you know the customer's fucking wrong.
Well, she doesn't just, like, flip the steak and rotate it. She then takes it back out to the guy, and she's like, sorry about that. Our new server should have never took that out to you. No. Yeah. Here's a new lamb chop for you. Courtesies directly of me, and he like cuts it into it and takes a bite. He's like, oh, you know what? This is very good. Thank you.
After complaining about it being dry and overcooked.
Yeah, and like it wasn't pink and it was too dry. And then he takes a bite.
I don't know how he doesn't know it wasn't pink when it was a whole lamb chop that hadn't been cut into yet. Yeah,
and like also you can't really tell like the dryness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was just an asshole.
And so she's like, anytime you come in, tell him that Chef Sophia's got you. I'll serve you. And then she goes back. He's like, oh, thank you. Yeah. This is
you're a delightful woman and a fantastic chef.
And then she goes back into the kitchen and just continues to talk shit about him. She goes
back and she's like, and you're a yutz. But then the night comes around, and they have succeeded.
This is the best scene in the entire first episode.
And Sophia is in the kitchen.
Sorry, not this scene.
Spiking her tickets, being like, 25 dinners, 25 lamb chops, kind of listing what all she's made. She's like, I need help. And then the back door opens, and in comes Cheech. Mm-hmm. And he wants his job back.
And so Cheech kind of begs for his job back, and she's like, you'll have to do better than that. And he's like,
well, he explains that he's going through a rough divorce. His wife got the house, all the money, all the savings, and he's living in his car.
And she's like, well, you're going to have to do better than just beg to get your job back. And he's like, honestly, I'm attracted to you. And Sophia sees through his bullshit immediately. But she's like, okay, well, you're going to have to play up the whole attracted to me bit.
You're going to have to really pretend you're attracted to me. And he's like, of course, you're beautiful and wonderful. And then Blanche comes back, and he gives her a hug. And Blanche comes back, and she's like, is everything okay? And Sophia's like, yeah, I feel pretty.
But before this scene, though...
She also agrees to give him a room in addition to his getting his job back.
Before this scene, though, out in the lobby, all the guests have went up to bed.
Oh, yeah.
The lights are off, and it's just Rose at the desk by herself. And in walks a man in a ski mask with a .357 Magnum. And he's like, where's your safe?
Well, he walks in at first, doesn't have a gun pulled out, and approaches Rose, and he's like, and before he can really say anything, she's like, aren't you warm in that? And she's talking to him about how the mask is, like, obviously uncomfortable in Miami weather.
Back in my home, we only wore that mask when it was
the really cold winters.
Yeah.
And then he pulls a gun, and he's like, where's the safe?
And she goes, oh yeah, I can see why you need the safe.
I don't think that would fit in one of the tiny safes we have in the room.
And he goes, well, where's the safe? And she goes, I don't know. Let me call Roland. And she goes to reach the phone, and he's like, no. And she plugs the phone anyways, and calls Roland and wakes him up. She's like, hey, Roland, I've got a guest down here. He needs access to the safe to store something.
And I just don't know where it is.
And she's like, okay. And hangs up the phone.
The guy's now leaning against the front counter, kind of just facing away, gun kind of tilted down.
She's like, oh, don't worry. Roland won't mind being woken up. Like, it's fine.
It'll be about 10 minutes. And he's like standing there for a moment, and he sighs in frustration and turns to walk out the door. She's like, wait, where are you going? He's like, the Carlton, across the street.
Oh, before that, she goes, can I ask you a question? She goes, what? She goes, is this your first time in Florida?
Yeah.
The ski mask kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
And he goes, then it's the Carlton bit, where he's like, I'm going over to the Carlton. And then she picks up the phone, dials 3 numbers, beep, 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 picks up the phone and goes, and gives an incredibly accurate description of this guy. Yeah. Brown eyes, ski mask,
about
height.
175 pounds, 6 foot-ish, brown eyes,
.357 Magnum, and she's like, yeah, I'm just not as stupid as some people think. And then
they ask who it is, and she's like, oh, me, just a concerned citizen who's not as dumb as people might think.
And then she's like, oh, this is 411?
Could you give me the number for 911?
Yeah. It's such a great, like, bait and switch. Like, there's, like, 3 levels to this joke.
Yeah, there is.
There's the initial, Rose is too dumb to understand that she's being like, robbed. And then there's the, oh, she's not actually that dumb. It's just been, like, kind of a character ploy this entire time. And then it's, oh, she called 411 and has to ask for the number for 911. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So then after Cheech gets hired back on, they all are talking through, well, the girls are all talking through the fact that they've made it through the week. They managed to pay off their bank note. All the travel agents are pretty happy. And they can make it another month. And they actually have enough to hire some more staff.
Mm-hmm. And then that's the end of this scene, this episode. But then,
basically.
Then we get the credits scroll. And normally during the credits scroll in most Golden Girl episodes, not all, but most, it features the girls in the kitchen eating cheesecake.
Yep.
So during this credit scroll, it's the girls talking in an almost meta conversation, talking to all the hotel staff about what the in-scroll scenes typically are while they eat cheesecake.
Like, so what are we doing? Like, we all just kind of eat cheesecake and talk, and the nurse like, and I might tell a story about my hometown St. Olaf, and Oliver is like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. And then Sophia goes, newbies. I don't think she says newbies, but it's noobs, basically. And then her and Blanche get up and walk out of the screen, walk out of the shot, and that's the end of the episode.
Justice.
Yeah.
It's that time. After the first episode of The Golden Palace. What are your thoughts?
The inclusion of Don Cheadle kind of takes Dorothy's place as a straight man for this episode, at least. Because that was my biggest concern coming into the Golden Palace without Dorothy. Because Dorothy was kind of the straight man to the entire group. Mm-hmm. Sophia would sometimes do the role. But a lot of the time, it was Dorothy playing a straight man to Rose or Blanche or even Sophia. But it honestly didn't veer too off into the just jokes with no one for it to bounce off of and play well off of in this episode. And given the fact that these three delightful actresses have had 7 seasons to kind of figure out who these characters are, it runs pretty well and pretty smoothly. And yeah, I would watch the next episode. You?
Yeah, I think Golden Girls is like classically regarded as one of the best sitcoms of all time, if not just one of the best TV shows of all time. And The Golden Palace feels the same but different.
Yeah, I like the opening song.
I think that's the entire themology I'm getting from this. It's the same, but different. And in that regard, yeah, it's still worth watching. It's actually surprising me. I've never heard of this before.
Yeah.
It's like Golden Girls, like I said, so massively successful and popular.
I've watched Golden Girls so often and so much. And the fact that I'd never heard of Golden Palace, and then we just stumbled across it, is crazy. Like I said, this is definitely one of the shows I was most hyped to watch out of our recent shows that we've recorded episodes for.
Wait, you haven't been hyped about the Arrowverse?
I mean, the Arrowverse was fine. I wasn't super hyped for Supergirl because, like, The Flash didn't start great, Arrow didn't start particularly strong in my opinion. Black Lightning was fine, but it'd been so long I couldn't exactly remember how well it started, you know?
Yeah.
And Supergirl was honestly kind of surprising in that aspect. So, yeah, I wasn't hyped for Arrowverse.
Fair enough.
But what are your thoughts? Wait, we already did that part.
We did do that part.
Yeah, so I guess that means we're on to episode 2. Do you want to do the episode title?
Episode 2, Promotional Considerations.
Yes.
So, mostly this episode, just to, like, summarize it, is Blanche is a control freak and wants to run everything exactly like she wants to, but she has no experience running anything.
Yeah.
So nobody listens to her, and it causes friction and anger amongst everybody.
And she actively ignores the girls and constantly makes the statement, I own the hotel, I run this hotel.
Until it comes back to bite her in the ass.
Yes.
That's the episode. We're done reviewing it. There you go.
Okay, bye. Wait a minute. Bobcat Goldthwait showed up in this episode.
So that rundown was a pretty accurate description of the episode, but the episode actually begins with Blanche and Sophia in the kitchen preparing food for...
Before that, I'm sorry about the bad impression. You stopped them. I should have as well. Continue.
Oliver comes in and he's like, so I washed out the dumpster and sprayed out the alley. Sophia said I would get more...
Well, Blanche thanks him.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe I should make you superintendent of sanitation or whatever.
And he's like, oh, I see. I'm giving out titles instead of raises around here.
Yeah. I only did it because the old lady said I would get some reward.
And then Sophia goes, oh yeah, and pulls out a quarter and goes, here's a quarter. He goes, great.
Now I can afford to call the child labor board.
And Blanche is like, I'll give you $5 later. Just in the future, tell me before you do like additional stuff around here.
Yeah.
And I think in 1993, $5 is actually above minimum wage.
It may have been, yeah. Yeah. I assume you're Googling that.
In 1992, the minimum wage was $4.25. So he made $5.25 for spraying out.
Honestly, the quarter probably covered most of the time if he was actively like working for the other parts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And later in 1992, it was raised to $4.55 an hour.
But anyways, Blanche is saying she needs to know if he's doing any extra work because she wants all decisions to go through her, especially ones that affect the finances.
Mm-hmm. Rose comes in and she's like, hey guys, I have an idea.
And they all laugh, including Oliver, because he has caught on very quickly.
And she's like, what? I just said I had an idea.
Yeah.
And they all laugh again.
Because they're trying to figure out how to make more money. And then Rose finally manages to get her idea, which is, I think we should advertise.
Yeah, and like, everybody's like, oh, like, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Except for Blanche. Blanche is like, we've already talked about this, but we don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And Rose is like, well, we could do flyers. Flyers are cheap.
And so he's like, Sophia replies, yeah, flyers are really cheap. You can just put on top of cars. That's how Dorothy found out about Shady Pines. And then she turns to Oliver and is like, isn't that sad? My daughter put me in a home that she found out about from a flyer on her car. To which Oliver just looks at her and goes, you're not getting this quarterback. And just leaves the scene.
But yeah, so Blanche shoots down the idea of flyers,
and
then Roland comes in and he's like, we've got a problem. And the problem isn't actually a problem. The problem is they have a famous columnist in the New York Times coming in. He's supposed to check in at 3 o'clock, but from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock,
Roland is off doing inventory.
And Blanche is going to be running the desk. But because Roland has more experience at running the desk and like working in a hotel, he thinks for a high profile customer,
he should run the desk to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Instead of Blanche. And honestly,
fair.
I'm with him.
Brilliant sense.
And Blanche is like, no,
I feel like I should do it. He's like, why? I've been doing this long. She's like, I own the place.
So they have a bit of an argument about that. She overrides him and shoots him down.
Yep.
And so out in the lobby, Blanche is at the desk, and Oliver comes up and goes, hey, can you page the old lady?
And Blanche is like, I can call up to Sophia's room, but you really shouldn't be calling her old lady. That's really rude. You should treat her elders with more respect. She calls, no one answers, and she's like, what is that talking prune doing now? And then Sophia walks out of the elevator over to Oliver. She's like, right on time. Let's get going.
The important part is when she's like, you shouldn't call her old lady. Oliver's like, okay, yeah, I won't.
Yeah.
And then so Sophia comes over, and Oliver's like, oh, there's the talking prune.
To which Sophia then looks at Blanche like, I thought I told you not to tell anyone my native name.
Talking prune.
Yeah. So then, as she's getting ready to head out with Oliver, Blanche takes a moment to look at the stuff Oliver's on the counter, and it is flyers for the Golden Palace.
Blanche's like, what are you two getting up to anyways? And it turns out they're going to be handing out flyers for the Golden Palace.
With coupons for free margaritas on them. And she's like, no, you guys can't do that.
You can't give away margaritas.
Also, don't give out flyers. I said flyers were a bad idea.
And Sophie's like, yeah, but what we're going to do is we're going to get them in with free margaritas and then get them so drunk.
We take their keys and they have to get a room. It's part of my get drunk and wake up in a strange hotel room in America plan. Across America, something like that. Yeah. So she and Oliver take off, and Blanche can't follow because she gets a phone call. Right?
Yeah.
The phone call is not really anything important, I don't believe.
It's just enough to distract her from stopping Sophia and Oliver.
And Roland shows back up, and Blanche is immediately like, what are you doing here? It's not 5 yet.
You're still supposed to be doing inventory. And he's like, well, I've just thought, with the columnist coming from the New York Times. She's like, well, who cares about him? The 2-bit hack that writes for a 2-bit tabloid, blah, 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 blah. And obviously she's saying this just as he shows up.
Walks in, yep.
And he's like, I am that person.
Yeah.
That's who that is. And she's like, oh, no, I love your writing. You're so great.
I'm such a big fan. So then Roland tries to take over, and he's like, I've got a great room for you. Room 302. I have it all set up for you. And then Blanche steps in and she's like, no, I think you want room 306. It has a view of the ocean. No, she's the one that offers the ocean view room. And then Roland says, yeah, but it also has a view of the street. It might be the other way around. Either way, they're
just trying to one-up each other.
Roland's like, I sent the fruit basket to the room. And Blanche is like, I sent a fruit basket to the room already.
And then Roland's like, but what about a nice chilled bottle of champagne since you just got done with this long flight?
To which the guy who's just been standing there being like, yeah, okay, sure. To whatever they're saying, he's like, he does not care. He's like, actually, I have a coupon for a free margarita.
I don't need champagne. Free margarita. Yeah.
Which, part of this argument at the very beginning started with, he was like, the person who's in charge and being capable of running this place should check in important guests. And she's like, yeah, I'm in charge. He's like, really? Because it doesn't seem like it. Sophia and Oliver are out handing these flyers. Like,
it's hard to keep up the idea of being a prestigious, nice hotel when there's an old lady and a young boy going, check it out, flyers, free alcohol.
And she's like, well, they just got away from me. He's like, yeah, because you're not in charge.
Roland ends up going, hey, look, how about this? I'll take the keys for 302, 306.
And you can just choose which of the 2 rooms you want.
And so that ends the scene. And then we cut to so then we're still in the lobby. Roland has taken the guest upstairs.
And Rose comes up to Blanche. And she's, again, trying to say what her idea is, because she has another idea for how to promote the business. Mm-hmm. And she starts to talk about it. Blanche tries to cut her off, and she's like, well...
Yeah, Rose is like, I went to the TV station
to see how ad rates are. And Blanche is immediately like, Rose, honey, we don't have the money for that. I've told you.
And Rose is like, no. But what I'm trying to say is, while I was there, I ran into an old friend, and we started talking, and they're going to run ads for us for free. All we have to do is put up their guests.
Yes, they're running ads for free, as long as we put up their guests for this talk show that they have.
And Blanche was still upset. She's like, you have to consult me before we're making these decisions.
And Rose is like, is it not a good idea? And Blanche is like, no, I love the idea. It's great. But you should still talk to me first.
And then Rose is like, I do talk to you first. That's why we don't have the mascot that I got for our new slogan.
What slogan?
The Golden Palace. It's not a bad place to sleep.
To which Blanche walks out from behind the desk finally, walks up to Rose and goes, Rose, no sheep. And that's the end of the scene.
But Justice, it's not a bad place to sleep.
Fair enough. So then we are back in the kitchen where Chewie, Cheech, I don't think we said his name before. I don't remember.
Yeah, his name is Chewie.
Is getting ready to prepare some food.
And he has Oliver grab the meat out of the fridge, but there's no meat in the fridge, so Oliver grabs meat out of the freezer. He's like, Sophia put all the meat from the fridge back into the freezer.
To make room for the martini mix in the fridge.
Margarita
mix in the fridge. And he's like, does she not know you can't just, if you thought meat, you need to cook it, you can't refreeze it. That could get people sick and they could die. And then Sophia walks in and she's like, how's it going? And he's like, how would you like a hamburger?
And Sophia grabs, not Sophia, Rose grabs the meat from him and throws it in the trash. And she's like, well, just to get more meat. No, Sophia's the one's like, just buy more meat. Call the butcher and get more meat. He's like, oh yeah, I'll just call the butcher and get more meat. And he's like, I could just
call the butcher and get more meat. So he picks the phone and is calling the butcher. when in walks Blanche, who's immediately upset that he is ordering more produce.
Well, not produce.
More product is the word I wanted, sorry.
And he's like, yeah, I don't care about the extra charges for same-day delivery.
I need it. I can't do anything without it.
And she's like,
hang up the phone right now.
He's like, I'm sorry, my boss is giving me angry looks. And he goes, oh no, not Roland. It's that old lady I told you about.
And the guy says something, he starts laughing. He's laughing a lot, and then sees Blanche there, and he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I really gotta go, and hangs up the phone. And Blanche basically starts sharing into about how he has to talk to her, all orders have to go through her, she has to have the final say, she has to initialize it all.
And then Roland comes into the kitchen.
And Chewie's like, hey, do you hear about this? And Roland's just like, yeah, just go back to doing things how you used to do them.
Just do how we always done them, and if you need to like ask anybody about anything, just come to me. I'll make sure it works.
And Blanche is like, after he says just go back to how they do them, Blanche's like, that's the second time you usurped me. To which he looks her dead in the eye and goes, if you need anything, come to me and let me know.
She goes, thrice now.
Yep.
And they get into a huge argument here about him making decisions without her input when she's the owner, and he's like, yeah, but I've been doing this longer, I know what I'm doing.
And you have no clue what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. We then cut to, I think it's just Blanche, Rose, and Roland.
Yep, out at the front.
Watching the ad for the interview show that is advertising the Golden Palace. Yeah. And she's like,
so what it is they're all up front. And Blanche tells Roland, hey, to calm things down, I think you should go take a break so I can cool down.
Mm-hmm.
And he still goes up, standing behind the desk. And instead of going to the desk where essentially she's going to do the job until 5 p.m. that she's supposed to do, Rose is like, hey, look, our ad's here. So they go to watch that.
Yeah, the TV in the lobby. And the interview show's like, and this interview show is brought to you by the Golden Palace, where all of our guests stay for free.
Join us next time for our episode on murderers, men let free.
Join us tomorrow for our topic, men who kill and are set free.
Yes.
And then
in walks Bobcat Goldthwait.
Like before that, they're all like, "Oh, what are we gonna do? They're gonna have murderers staying in our hotel." And then in walks Bobcat Goldthwait.
Who does Bobcat Goldthwait refer back to Bad Impression earlier?
He's playing like an eccentric loner type.
Yeah.
Who can't help but like scream every second line he says. He's like, "Yeah, I'm here to check in for my room."
Yeah.
I can't do a Bobcat Goldthwait. I don't think many people can.
No, not well. And then, as they're getting ready to do that, Blanche is like, so Roland's like, nope, I'm sorry, I'm on my break, and just takes out the front door.
And this is where, like, Rose and Blanche are here, and Blanche is attempting to check him in, and Rose keeps trying to edge away, and she's like, so Rose keeps trying to edge away, but Blanche keeps grabbing her. Eventually, Bobcat Goldthwait heads up to his room, and Rose goes...
After making sure it's far away from other people.
And Rose goes, we have to kick him out of the hotel.
And after enjoying his free margarita.
That's true. Then Blanche and Rose have a conversation about how we have to kick him out of the hotel, and Rose goes, "We? I thought it was your hotel."
Yeah.
And Blanche goes, "No, it's our hotel. It's we. We have to do."
We. Yep. So then I believe we're back in the kitchen next time.
Yes. Sophia and Chewie are playing cards with fruit as the currency.
Yes.
And Sophia wins the pot.
No, that's not when this happens. Sophia goes to the back to let Chewie know that they need meat because the crazy murder guy.
That's not till later.
I could have sworn that the poker thing was that night. Okay, my bad.
Hold on. You might be right. You're right. My bad.
Yeah, because I was fairly certain they were both in their PJs.
Mm-hmm.
So Sophia comes back to let Chewie know that they need meat. That the guy really wants a steak.
Now, yeah.
And he's like, I can't do anything with that. I don't have meat.
I sent Oliver to go get it.
And she's like, yeah, I can't do anything about it. And he's like, look, I'll just go out and talk to him, see if he wants nachos or some shit. And he steps out like,
Bobcat's hollering, I want my meat.
Where's my meat?
Where's my meat? I want my meat.
And then he immediately walks back and he's like, yep, I'm going to go see about that meat. It's not a very long scene. It's just kind of amusing.
Yeah.
And it's making sure everyone's kind of aware that Goldthwait's character is a bit unhinged. The way we can increase the attention amongst all the staff members throughout the rest of the show.
I think then we cut to a scene later in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Where Sophie and Chewie are playing cards for fruit. They're using fruit as the currency.
They look like strawberries.
There were strawberries, but there was also round berries. I couldn't tell if they were like blueberries or grapes. So like,
gotcha.
And Sophia wins the hand. Mm-hmm. And Sophia gets up to go get more
margaritas, more walking.
Yeah. And as she does that, Blanche walks back, and she's like, "Oh, what's wrong, Chewie?" And Chewie's like, Sophia just took my pot.
Yeah, and Blanche is like, she's a good cook. I'm sure your pot will be fine. You can get another one.
And he's like, wrong kind of pot.
And Blanche is like, what's going on right now? Tell me. And Chewie just looked at her confused and was like, what?
We were playing poker. She won the hand. Wait, do I look like a man that smokes marijuana to you?
The joke being...
that he's Mexican.
Mm-hmm. And the other joke being that he's Cheech Marin.
Also, Cheech Marin isn't actually Mexican. He's Canadian. But like, the joke
he has Latino heritage.
Yeah, the joke is he is Hispanic and
horrible,
Hispanics are lazy.
decades-long U.S. propaganda.
Yeah, but the deeper joke is that he's Cheech Marin, haha, Cheech and Chong, they smoke weed.
Yeah. So she basically immediately backpedals, but does not apologize, but backpedals a bit.
Yeah. Then Rose walks in, and
because she can't sleep.
All three of the girls, along with Chewie, are playing cards now and just talking.
And then Blanche mentions that she's upset with kind of all of them.
Yeah,
because they're asking why everyone's up.
Yeah.
And Rose is up because she's scared of
Boba.
I can't remember his character's name. I was going to try to say it.
I don't remember either.
And Blanche is just too angry to sleep. She's too angry at Roland.
Yeah, because this is my dream. It's always been my dream to run a business, and I want to be successful, and none of you are, like, working with me to make that happen. And then they all kind of, like, talk about how they all have their own dreams that they've all wanted to do, and how they've all had to, like, make compromises to make their dreams work, or they're still chasing their dreams. And then
but Chewie, all of them right now are trying to make this hotel work. They all want to make this hotel work.
Specifically, Chewie brings it up. He's like, Roland has the same dream as you. You both want to make this place work. Why are you guys at each other's necks?
Yeah.
Like, you need to apologize to him. He's just trying to do the same thing you're trying to do.
And Blanche is just like, no, not gonna happen. So she's getting ready to head out and leave. Rose asks her to go check on Oliver for her, at least before she goes to bed.
And then after Blanche leaves to go check on Oliver, Rose picks up the phone in the kitchen and calls up to Roland's room and asks him to go check on Oliver before he goes to bed as well. So Rose walks in, apologizes to Oliver. Well, checks on Oliver. She doesn't apologize.
Yeah, Blanche walks in.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Blanche walks in and talks to Oliver.
And Oliver's just like, why are you so upset with my foster dad? He's trying to make this work. Why would he not want this to succeed? This is our home too. And she's like, yeah, I guess it is.
And then the door opens and it's Roland and he's like,
I guess goodnight, Oliver. And then he just leaves.
And Oliver's like, you need to chase after him right now. You need a rom-com this.
And Blanche is like, okay, I will. I know when I'm licked. And then walks out.
And so Rose gives like a half-assed apology. She doesn't even say I'm sorry. Blanche gives a half-assed apology.
Not before Roland is immediately like, oh, can I not say goodnight to my fucking foster kid now?
Yeah, and Blanche is like, no, it's just, I understand that this is your home too, and it's like,
I've gone on a bit of a reign of terror and things were working well.
But we need to like go back to how you were running things. It worked better then. And he's like, is that how you're apologizing? And she's like, it's not an apology. And like then they get into an argument, and as they're arguing, Bobcat Goldthwait comes up with an ice bucket.
They're standing right in front of the ice machine.
And he's trying to get through the ice machine, and they're arguing, and eventually he yells at them to move.
And they just meet like, I'm sorry, I overreacted, didn't I? And like, yeah.
And
they're still kind of bickering in the background.
Well, Roland's like, hey, can I give you some advice, man? And Blanche is like, no, he's saying you can't do that. And he's like, you need to just calm down and like try talking to people.
Instead of yelling at them.
Like, you'll get through to people better if you talk to them instead of yelling. And Bobcat looks at him and goes, you know what? Thank you.
He struggles a bit with like the
tonality.
The volume of his voice and the tonality, but like he's a bit better. And he's like, can I give you some advice?
Looking at Blanche, and she's like, nods, and he's like, come here. And
she's cowering behind Roland.
He goes, come here!
So she walks over there, he's like, everyone needs to be needed. Tell them that you need them.
And so she turns around and she's like, and Bobcat goes, tell him! And she goes, I need you to run this place. I'm sorry, like.
Yeah, and Roland's like, it's okay, I need you too. And they kind of like half hug, and Bobcat Goldthwait goes back to his room, and then she's like, hey, I seriously meant what I said. I apologize. I do need you to help run this place.
And also, I was very scared right now, so thank you for being here.
He's like, you don't need to be scared, it's fine. And then Bobcat Goldthwait starts yelling, ice headache, which is a callback to when he had a margarita.
Mm-hmm.
And then Don Cheadle, I briefly forgot his character name, so Don Cheadle is just like, yep, okay, run.
This way,
right
this
now.
way.
Right now, this way.
So we cut to the next morning, and Sophia is coming down the stairs early where he found out that the margarita Sophia was drinking weren't alcoholic. She was just experienced sugar rush.
Yeah, she was basically trying to kill herself because she's old and her pancreas doesn't work.
So the next morning, Sophia comes down the stairs with a sugar hangover from drinking too many non-alcoholic margaritas. They kind of make fun of her. Then Blanche, Rose, and Roland watch the talk show that sponsors the hotel again. Mm-hmm. They're like,
that poor, sad man. I kind of feel for him.
And then it turns out Bobcat Goldthwait wasn't a murderer. Instead, he's the psychologist that works at that prison for the criminally insane.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, see, he didn't kill anybody.
Yeah. And you're like, you know what's really important, Barbara? Because the show's name is Barbara. Murderers really need a peaceful place to kind of like figure stuff out and work.
And that's why I try to provide at my prison, at the prison for the criminally insane where I work.
And you know what I would recommend for them? A nice stay at the Golden Palace
here in Miami.
Yep. And they're like, wait, what? End of episode, roll credits.
And during the credits, it's Rose and Sophia sitting on a couch watching another episode of this talk show.
Yes.
And they're like, and next on our next episode,
Midnight Shame. Adults who still wet the bed. And I was like, at least we know how to deal with that.
Yeah. And that's the end of the second episode of the Golden Palace.
So, overall, thoughts on the Golden Palace?
It feels very much still like the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the same but different joke again, but it still is. It still is. It's same but different.
Yeah.
Where, like, my best analogy piece, like, the sitcom I'm most familiar with that had a spinoff was Scrubs. Scrubs and Scrubs Medical School. I know Scrubs Medical School is, like, typically booked to season 9. Those, between the first 8 seasons of Scrubs and the 9th season of Scrubs, those feel like 2 totally different shows.
Yeah.
That just happen to have some of the same characters. I imagine it's kind of like how Frasier's a spinoff of Cheers. Like, those feel like totally different shows with some of the same characters.
With, like, one of the same characters.
Yeah, I imagine that's kind of how it feels. Golden Palace, the Golden Palace, feels like Golden Girls.
Yeah, just in a different setting.
Winked and twist.
Yeah, the slightest Yoink twist.
It's like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and The Sweet Life on Deck. Except between those 2 shows, there's one that has that's obviously a better quality show.
Yeah, I was actually gonna talk about that, because the thing that makes The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody better than The Sweet Life of The Sweet Life on Deck is that, like, Sweet Life on Deck, like, immediately Flanderizes every character to the max.
Mm-hmm.
The Golden Palace, I see, like, no Flanderization from, like, Golden Girls to here.
It still feels like the same characters.
Which, honestly, Golden Girls doesn't really feel like it Flanderizes its characters that much over its entire 7 seasons.
I mean, they all have, like, very... Like,
I think it's because they all start so heavily one mononym of a character.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we flesh that out a bit more. And
we have the prude, we have the angry Italian woman,
mm-hmm.
we have
the ditz.
We have the ditz, and no better way to put it, but we have the whore. Those are the characters. Those are the character archetypes.
As Sophia would say, yeah. And, like, we explore that a bit more, but that's kind of, like, one of the big tropes for them. And, like, sometimes they play it up, sometimes they don't. But they've kind of been doing that since season 1 of the show.
Mm-hmm. So this still manages to feel like Golden Girls, minus Dorothy.
Yeah, I would agree. So after the 2 episodes, would you watch more?
Yes. I have one complaint, but we'll talk about that once you talk about your...
I mean, I would also watch more.
What do you think of the show, though?
I think it's quite good, actually. I agree with everything you've said. And, like, I thought Dorothy being gone, because, like I said, she played the straight man pretty much to everyone, like, would be more noticeable.
It creates a worry when you go into it, but, like, the show handles it well. It's not really
super noticeable. Like, Sophia's still doing occasional straight man things like she does, but also being Sophia. Roland works pretty well as a straight man here and there, and, like, it still works. Like, my only issue so far in the first 2 episodes is I've heard no St. Olaf stories.
That's a very valid, that's a very valid criticism. My criticism is, why Oliver?
Yeah, why the small Dickensian foster child?
He's done nothing. I think my headcanon here is Full House was such a successful show that they went, oh, we need a small cute child. And that's what happened.
I guess. I mean, I don't really know. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but like I said, I don't particularly know that much.
Well, not just like, specifically not just Full House, but like there was a rise of like this family-centered sitcom shortly after the start of Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Full House just being one of them. Family Matters is another. Where like, the show wasn't centered around a child, but they had a child there to make like jokes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why Oliver.
Maybe, yeah.
And I don't think the show needed him.
Fair enough. I don't think he detracts from it either, though, which is the crazy part.
Okay, no, he doesn't necessarily. It just felt weird.
Yeah, he feels like a weird inclusion, but like not a bad inclusion. You know what I mean?
Like the show's not any worse because he's there. It's just from a show that has been mostly old people to becoming a show that stars 3 old women still. Mm-hmm. No offense to like anybody over 60. That's old, sorry. Mm-hmm. Along with a young Don Cheadle and Cheech.
Middle-aged Cheech. Middle to late-aged Cheech. I think he's like... He's about in his 50s or 60s, I think, at the time of the show. I think he's in his 80s now, so that's a little over 30 years ago. So he would have been like 50-ish, early 50s, late 40s.
Yeah, he would have been mid-40s.
Yeah, so like middle-aged Cheech.
Yeah, so like it feels weird that like now a kid is a central cast member.
Yeah.
Not like in that it's weird to have children as primary cast members in sitcoms, because obviously not true.
Yeah, no, so often. It's just weird in the context of Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Like,
but otherwise, the show's good. I enjoyed it. I would watch more.
I'm going to watch more.
Yeah, I assume you will. You've seen every episode of Golden Girls probably twice.
Twice bare minimum. Some of them definitely more. I've watched a lot of it on satellite TV.
It definitely makes sense for you to go and watch these 24 episodes, which again, this is a 24 episode season. I don't think we mentioned that yet.
Yeah, it's 24 episodes.
Dorothy does make a guest appearance on at least one episode, I think
2 episodes. It's a 2-part episode.
And so does her ex-husband.
Stan shows up. Miles shows up.
So it's got a lot of Golden Girls in it.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the end of our flight. If you want to reach out to us to discuss your memories of the Golden Girls growing up, because everybody has memories of the Golden Girls growing up.
Yeah.
The show's been in syndication for forever.
Yeah. Like 40 years, man. Almost 1985 to 1985, and now it's 2024.
So
it's been around for like almost 40 years.
It wouldn't have went into syndication until 1992, probably. Syndication is when
it's running in playback, yeah. But the show's been around for like 40 years.
Yeah, and it's been incredibly successful the entire time. So if you want to let us know about your childhood memories of watching Golden Girls with your parents or grandparents, because that's where my memories mostly come from.
Or just watching it by yourself because the show was great.
Eventually, but I don't think anybody in our age group started out just watching Golden Girls to watch Golden Girls.
Yeah.
It was obviously introduced to you by an older family member.
Yeah.
And that's it, but it's so good that you're like, oh no, never mind.
Yeah, this is just a good show. I'm just gonna watch this.
It's kind of like Matlock in that regard.
Yeah. Or Murder, She Wrote.
Anyways, you want to reach out to us about any old TV shows, or if you want to talk about the Arrowverse or Gen Con or anything else in general, you can do that a myriad of different ways. And the first of those ways is via our email, copilotsreview@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on Blue Sky and Twitter at Copilotsreview.
Or you can find links to all three of those, as well as our YouTube, Discord, Patreon, and maybe a few other things on our website, copilotsreview.simplecast.com.
Anyways, though, thanks for flying, and please fly again soon.
Thank you for being a passenger.
Boo.